Recent online discussions have been filled with dramatic claims about Blake Lively's legal strategy, particularly surrounding discovery disputes and deposition scheduling. Some commentary suggests that she has attempted to delay proceedings by requesting extensive amounts of material for review, including references to tens of thousands of hours of footage. However, such figures are widely debated, and without official confirmation from court records, they remain part of public speculation rather than verified fact. In legal contexts, requests for additional time or evidence review are not uncommon, especially in complex cases involving large volumes of digital material. These requests can be interpreted differently depending on perspective, with one side viewing them as necessary preparation and the other as delay tactics. Reports have also mentioned specific deposition dates and locations, indicating that scheduling and timing have become points of contention between the parties. In high-profile cases, disagreements over discovery timelines and deposition logistics often play a significant role in shaping the pace of proceedings. Some narratives have portrayed Blake's legal approach as overly aggressive or strategically evasive, while others emphasize that such tactics are part of standard legal maneuvering, where each side seeks to strengthen its position within procedural boundaries. References to judicial responses, including citations of case law, highlight that courts actively manage these disputes to ensure fairness and efficiency, though the exact language and implications should be understood within official rulings rather than paraphrased commentary. Additional attention has been drawn to interactions between individuals involved in the case, including claims that parties previously at odds have appeared aligned in certain legal motions. While such developments can seem surprising, they are not unheard of in litigation, where shifting alliances or shared procedural interests can temporarily bring opposing figures into the same legal position. Critics have interpreted these moments as inconsistent or contradictory, while others see them as strategic coordination on specific issues rather than a broader reconciliation. Allegations of canceled or rescheduled depositions, as well as disputes over responsibility for delays, have further fueled debate online. In reality, scheduling conflicts and changes are common in complex legal cases, and determining accountability typically requires a full review of court filings and correspondence. As the situation continues to unfold, it remains a mix of confirmed procedural developments and unverified claims circulating through media and social platforms. While the tone of online commentary often leans toward dramatization, the actual legal outcomes will depend on documented evidence, formal arguments, and judicial decisions rather than the interpretations shaping public discourse. Online discussions about the case have continued to highlight disputes over deposition scheduling and discovery conduct, with some commentary focusing on missed deadlines, lack of coordination, and disagreements over providing alternative dates. In legal proceedings, courts typically expect parties to demonstrate due diligence under procedural rules, and when filings appear insufficient or unsupported, judges may respond critically. However, the exact tone and reasoning behind any judicial response should be understood through official rulings rather than dramatized interpretations. Much of the public narrative has also centered on requests to review large volumes of footage, with some observers questioning the relevance of such material to the core legal claims. In complex litigation, parties often seek extensive evidence, but courts generally weigh whether those requests are proportional and directly tied to the issues being argued. Claims that certain footage is unrelated or excessive are part of the legal back and forth and are ultimately resolved through judicial oversight. Discussions have further expanded into broader interpretations of credibility and evidence, with some commentators arguing that certain claims lack supporting documentation, while others emphasize that absence of publicly known evidence does not necessarily determine the strength of a case. Legal standards rely on admissible evidence presented in court, not on what is visible in public discourse or social media speculation. Past incidents referenced in online debates, including disputes over specific scenes or recordings, have been used by commentators to draw conclusions about consistency, though each claim must be evaluated independently within its proper legal context. The growing focus on narrative control reflects how high-profile cases often involve both legal strategy and public perception management, with each side attempting to frame the story in its favor. Courts, however, are primarily concerned with verifiable facts and procedural compliance rather than broader storytelling. Additional commentary has pointed to the language used in subpoenas and discovery requests, with some describing them as overly broad or unusual. In practice, legal teams may cast wide nets when seeking information, but such requests can be challenged and narrowed if deemed irrelevant or burdensome. Ultimately, while the online conversation presents a highly dramatized version of events, the outcome will depend on how effectively each side presents evidence, complies with procedural requirements, and responds to judicial scrutiny within the formal legal process. Online commentary surrounding the case has continued to escalate, with many discussions focusing on the scope of subpoenas and discovery requests. Some reports claim that a wide range of individuals, including media personalities and online commentators such as Candace Owens, Perez Hilton, Megyn Kelly, and others, were referenced in legal filings. However, the exact role or relevance of such individuals in the case has not been clearly established through official court confirmation, and much of the narrative comes from secondary reporting and online interpretation. In complex litigation, legal teams sometimes issue broad discovery requests in an attempt to gather any potentially relevant information, though such actions can be challenged if they are considered overly expansive or unrelated to the central issues. Commentary has also highlighted unusual or wide-ranging keyword searches allegedly included in subpoenas, with critics describing them as excessive or unfocused. In practice, courts often review and limit such requests to ensure they meet standards of relevance and proportionality. Claims that non-party individuals or employees were targeted have also circulated, raising questions about the boundaries of discovery. While third parties can be subpoenaed under certain conditions, these actions are subject to legal scrutiny and can be contested if deemed intrusive or unjustified. Discussions about timing, including references to requests made over holiday periods, have further fueled public debate, though scheduling disputes and timing conflicts are not uncommon in legal proceedings. Allegations of selective targeting, media leaks, or strategic information releases have also become part of the broader narrative. Some observers suggest that information may have reached media outlets before involved parties, but such claims remain unverified and would require clear evidence to substantiate. Mentions of media organizations like TMZ and Daily Mail have appeared frequently in discussions, reflecting the role of press coverage in shaping public perception. However, media reporting itself can vary in accuracy and intent, and should be considered alongside official court records when evaluating developments. Additional claims involving journalists and alleged professional consequences have also circulated, though these remain part of contested narratives rather than confirmed legal findings. As with many high-profile disputes, the situation has evolved into a mix of legal proceedings and public storytelling, where online reactions, media framing, and speculation often amplify certain angles. Ultimately, while the tone of these discussions can be highly dramatic, the actual significance of subpoenas, discovery requests, and alleged targeting will be determined through judicial review and adherence to legal standards, rather than through viral interpretations or unverified claims. Online commentary has continued to escalate, with increasingly intense narratives forming around both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Much of this discourse centers on interpretations of legal actions, public relations strategies, and past professional behavior, though many of these claims remain unverified and should be approached with caution. In high-profile cases, it is common for online discussions to amplify allegations and personal accounts, sometimes presenting them as established fact without formal confirmation. Claims about subpoenas or legal pressure being used to silence critics have circulated widely, but in practice, discovery requests and legal notices are part of standard litigation processes, even if they are perceived negatively by those involved. Similarly, references to influencer relationships and promotional strategies highlight how closely entertainment marketing is tied to digital platforms, where the same channels used for promotion can later become spaces for criticism. Allegations about on-set behavior or workplace dynamics have also surfaced in online discussions, often based on individual accounts that have not been independently verified. In the entertainment industry, such claims can significantly impact public perception, but their accuracy and context must be evaluated carefully, especially when they are not part of formal legal findings. Attention has also turned toward Ryan Reynolds, with some narratives portraying him as playing a behind-the-scenes role in marketing and public messaging. His involvement in campaigns through ventures like Maximum Effort has been publicly documented in other contexts, but the extent to which this connects to the current situation is largely speculative. In reality, marketing campaigns for major film projects are typically collaborative efforts involving studios, agencies, and multiple stakeholders rather than a single controlling figure. Discussions about shifting blame, media strategy, and reputational fallout reflect how quickly public opinion can evolve when controversy arises. Critics often frame these developments as coordinated efforts, while others view them as the natural result of complex, high-pressure situations involving multiple parties. References to brand partnerships and promotional platforms further illustrate how interconnected celebrity image, business ventures, and media exposure have become. Ultimately, while the online narrative presents a highly dramatized version of events, the actual outcomes for those involved will depend on verified evidence, contractual obligations, and legal decisions rather than speculation or viral storytelling. Online narratives around the situation have continued to build momentum, with many discussions focusing on timelines, filings, and the sequence of legal events being interpreted through a highly dramatic lens. Some reports describe a series of key dates tied to discovery requests, document production deadlines, and depositions, all of which are standard components in complex litigation. However, the way these developments are portrayed online often exaggerates intent, framing routine legal procedures as deliberate tactics without confirmed evidence. For example, references to delays in requesting or reviewing materials have been widely debated, with critics suggesting strategic stalling while others point out that extended timelines can be normal in cases involving large volumes of data and multiple parties. Courts typically step in to manage these timelines, ensuring that both sides comply with procedural rules and that the case progresses efficiently. Mentions of third-party involvement, including data collection from individuals not directly named in the case, have also generated discussion. In legal practice, third-party discovery can occur under certain conditions, though it is subject to limitations and oversight to prevent unnecessary burden. Similarly, disputes over subpoena scope, keyword searches, and document requests are common, with courts often narrowing or clarifying what is considered relevant. The scheduling of depositions has become another focal point, with specific dates being cited as milestones in the case. Depositions are a routine part of pretrial preparation, allowing attorneys to gather testimony under oath, and disagreements over timing or readiness are not unusual. Deadlines, extensions, and rescheduling requests are typically resolved through court orders based on fairness and practicality rather than public pressure. Online commentary has also emphasized the broader impact on reputation and public perception, portraying the situation as a major turning point for those involved. While public opinion can shift quickly, especially in high-profile cases, it does not determine legal outcomes. Courts rely on documented evidence, sworn testimony, and established legal standards rather than viral narratives or social media reactions. Claims about coordinated responses, public backlash, or industry consequences further illustrate how intertwined legal disputes and media coverage have become. However, these interpretations often reflect opinion rather than verified fact. In reality, the progression of the case will depend on how effectively each side presents its arguments, complies with procedural requirements, and responds to judicial scrutiny. Ultimately, while the online portrayal may frame the situation as chaotic or one-sided, the legal process itself remains structured and methodical, with outcomes determined by evidence and law rather than speculation or dramatic storytelling.